College football is back, and we're back live on the Big Mountain.
Hey, welcome back to the Mountain here for another live episode. We are in studio. Thankfully, I always enjoy us being in studio. Things are much more fun. And I know we have a lot of people here joining us here. We like to slow play it a little bit, make sure people get their notifications, get to where they have their comfy chair, their notepad to take some notes, maybe an ice cold brew. And before we get going, Steve, we have the best Oktoberfest I've ever found, the New Trail Oktoberfest. It just came out here in Pennsylvania about a week ago. I bought a whole case of it. I was so excited I sent you a picture.
Yeah, so that won our Oktoberfest blind taste test last year, right? Mm-hmm. And I was at Happy Valley at Beaver Stadium, and they have New Trail on sale in the stadium, which I thought was freaking amazing.
So this is brewed in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. You may have heard of Williamsport because that is where the Little League World Series is held, and it's fairly close to Happy Valley. It's not too far from Happy Valley.
No, not too far.
So yes, I have not only a full glass, I have a little left over here. So JY is going to be loving life tonight. So with that, I know we got a bunch of people on. That college football guy is currently driving. He's listening to us. Hope he's driving safe. Hopefully he's not in too much rain because it's been raining around here for frickin' forever. Yeah. But I shouldn't be too. I shouldn't say too much because I'll tell you what, people got it way worse than us. So
which is I think. Bill, that college football guy, I think he lives in East Tennessee, if I remember. I mean, I don't want to put too much of his business out, but I'm sure he's got people that he's thinking about down there in that area.
Yeah, so if you were affected, hopefully everybody's okay. My goodness, some of the pictures are amazing. Yeah. Flooding and water is no joke.
Yeah,
that stuff will take you out real quick. But yeah, we've got some of our normal people on here. We got Big Mama, John, Anthony, Squeeze Money, Kyle Morris, Go Beeves, Go UTEP, absolutely Ricardo, Go UTEP. We are going to be getting to the Mountain West, UTEP, and some other little goodies that I want to bring up. At the end of the podcast, we do our live shows in season because we like to give picks. That's why we started this channel from the very beginning. We've grown slightly from that, though.
A little bit.
And so we start with our picks. We always start with the Big Ten picks because it's easier for the East Coast people, Central Time Zone people to get in, although now you're in the West Coast, so what the heck does it matter anymore with your Oregon and Washington and your all that crap. And then we go to the Mountain West later on because all of my teams are out in the at least for now, in the Mountain and Western time zones, although that may be changing, Steve.
Yeah, well, Anthony says he's up $3,000.
No.
Following our picks. I think you're going to have a little bit more on that. Clint says go Beeves, and we're still covering the Beeves and the Cougs.
That's right.
Genetics is here. And Bill, he's aware of some people, Johnson City, East Tennessee, Augusta, Georgia. We got Spence Reed here. Steelers going to the Super Bowl.
You're representing Steeler garb.
Hey,
I went back to our roots.
Yep.
I'm not wearing a Mountain West shirt tonight.
What's up, JEH?
Good to have you all here. So, all right, we'll do our hook, and then we'll get into it. You ready to rock with your Big Tens?
I'm ready to go.
All right, it's great to have you on here. We're going to do what we always do. All right, it is week 6, and we are hot on the mountain, Steve. We're going to try to keep this train rolling. I do want to put up here real quick where we stand after 5 weeks. Phenomenal week last week, Steve. We went 6-0 on our locks. We believe it's the first time we ever did a sweep. So almost a year and a half of doing this. We don't think we've ever had a Big Mountain sweep. We've probably been close, like a 5-1 type of week. We're not sure we ever had a sweep. So if you bet us last week, you hit us at the right time because we swept at 6-0. Steve hit 4, I hit 2. So to go real quick over just our entire season so far through 5 weeks, Steve, you are 91% on straight picks. You don't hear us talk straight picks because we do the spreads, but we do, just saying who's going to win, who's going to lose. You're 91% with your Big Ten plus FSU. I'm 86% with my Mountain West and my PAC-2 schools, Pac-12, Pac-2 schools that I'm doing over this year. We're very close on our spread, Steve. You are 35-19 at 65%, and I am 35-20 at 64%. So Big Mountain here in total, we're right there around that 2/3 mark, which is great for anybody doing betting. But Steve, you're 80% on your locks this year.
Rock and rolling, and people, and for if you're new here, if you're new to the channel, our locks are what we are most confident in. We're going to pick all the games. I'm picking all Big Ten games and Florida State games. You're picking all Mountain West, all PAC games. And we're going to pick every game, but our locks is where we're really confident.
Well, and you not only are you confident, but you're pretty damn good at it because you're 12-3. I'm 5-3, 63%. So for the total for the Big Mountain, we're sitting at 89% on straight picks, 64% average on spread picks, and we are 74%. I'm bringing your 80 down a little bit because I'm not quite up there with you, but 74%, 17-6 on our Ice Cold Big Mountain. What is it? Big Mountain Ice Cold Lock.
Ice Cold Lock.
Can't even say I'm getting so damn excited. And I just want to say I agree here with the commenter. They want to see who you're going to pick between Nebraska and Rutgers. When I saw this on the schedule, I went, oh my goodness, Steve. These are two teams he's been high on, and I'm anxious to see what you have to say.
I gamed out the entire season this year, and that was the first game that really gave me some trouble.
Ooh, this one, I'm so excited for that one. But I know you're picking all of them. So I think you have 9 picks total. And we're going to start with the Big Ten, so go for it.
Yeah, and I'm going to tease it a little bit. I'm going to. Last week I had 4 locks, went 4-0.
Yes.
This week I again have 4 locks. I was only going to have 3. I added 1 to the last minute. So
you're getting back on that pony.
Getting back,
riding it to the bank.
Got 4 locks in the Big Ten. So
let's do it.
Starting first game, Michigan State traveling to Oregon. I'm going to go ahead and take Michigan State plus the 24.5. I think Oregon wins this game. I think Oregon wins it pretty easily. I just think the thing with Oregon, they have been really, with the exception of the Oregon State game, I think they have really kind of held back their offense this year. They're averaging one of the smallest yards per air attempt. Dylan Gabriel having a good season. He's running that offense. He's very accurate. But I mean, he's basically dinking and dunking down the field. So I think Oregon wins this game. I think they win easily. It's just too many points. Michigan State, they're showing some spunk. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Michigan State plus the 24.5. I'm sorry, JEH. Although this might have been the one that he was okay with if Michigan State won, but I think Oregon's still going to win. But Michigan State's going to keep it within that margin.
Okay. Very interesting.
Okay, so my next game, UCLA traveling across the country to Penn State. I'm going to go ahead and take Penn State to cover the 26.5. The line moved today from 27.5 to 26.5. So I'm taking them to cover that 26.5 points, and I'm making that my first Big Mountain Ice Cold Lock.
This was your audible.
This was my audible.
You went, you said, that's it, I'm going 4 again, and you added this guy last minute. You're feeling good about it. Why are you feeling good about it?
The line was 27.5. I was a little bit iffy. I was definitely going to take Penn State to cover. Here's the thing, JY. UCLA, like we've talked about, they're just not a good team this year. They're rebuilding. All of the areas where they have weaknesses are the areas where Penn State has strengths and they can exploit them.
Okay.
And we know Penn State did not cover against Illinois last week. Illinois was a little bit better team I think a significantly better team than UCLA.
Oh, yeah.
Very balanced. They played some good defense. They were able to, that single high safety and mixing in some zone with some tight man coverage. They were able to kind of confuse Drew Aller and just take away those big plays. UCLA, the main weakness of their defense is their pass defense. I think that's going to be a big difference between the Illinois game and this UCLA game. Is I think Aller's going to get back on track. The Penn State passing offense is going to explode again. Coming into that Illinois game, the Penn State passing offense was leading, or the Penn State offense was leading the country in explosive plays.
Yeah.
Illinois did a great job of kind of slowing them down. Penn State was still able to exert their will and have drives, but the scoring was down a little bit because they had to have methodical drives. Plus, they missed a couple of field goals.
Right.
But this week, again, excuse me, that travel coming across the country, I think Penn State's a little bit pissed off. Their offense is a little pissed off. They didn't score as many points. When you look at the advanced stats of that Illinois game, they should have absolutely destroyed them on the scoreboard. I think they're going to come out. They're going to want to score as many points as possible. So I'm very comfortable taking Penn State to cover that 26.5.
Okay, so there's a first lock coming out this week. And I know you have some more. You said you have 4. So what next game, what do we got? Wisconsin and Purdue. Is this the stinker of the week for you?
Yeah, this is kind of a stinker, and I don't really trust both of these teams. So Purdue is at Wisconsin. weirdly enough, I said I was going to pick against Purdue most of the season, but I'm going to take Purdue plus the 13.5 points, mainly because I don't trust either one of these offenses. Wisconsin did some things on the road against USC last week, and I totally get it, but I think that game took a lot out of them. You know, it was a physical game. They end up just getting, the second half just falling apart completely. I still don't trust this Wisconsin offense. I don't really trust the Purdue offense either. They did fire their offensive coordinator. They brought in a new one. They're going to be trying some new things. I'm not taking Purdue because I like them so much or think they're going to perform well. It's more, I just don't think this Wisconsin offense is going to put up a lot of points. Purdue was able to kind of keep things close in the first half against Nebraska. And so I'm taking them plus the points, but I'm not locking this game. I don't love it. I don't even think I'm going to bet this game on my own money.
I wouldn't. I don't like either team. So, but we are committed to picking every Big Ten and Mountain West game, and that's what you're doing. All right, so next game.
Okay, so Indiana at Northwestern. We've been riding the Indiana train, and I'm going to go ahead and take Indiana to cover the 13.5, and I'm making that my second Big Mountain ice cold lock. There's no reason to get off of this Hoosier hype train. Their offense is totally clicking.
Absolutely.
Last week they started the game off. Rourke threw 2 interceptions, back-to-back interceptions. They had a fumble in the first half. That kind of slowed them down only in the first half, but they just kept coming. Rourke is a master of running this offense. Kurt Cignetti's offense, they are just cruising. They are firing on all cylinders. And they beat Maryland, I think, what was it, by 2 touchdowns at least?
Yeah, something like that.
They would have beat them by at least 4 touchdowns without those kind of fluky interceptions. And Rourke they didn't bother him at all. He got right back on track, had a fantastic game. Northwestern, they're just not a good team. They don't have a lot of talent. I know they were able to overachieve last year. They have great coaching. They lost some of the players from last year. I think they even have less talent this year. Now, they are playing in that revamped practice stadium or whatever that's right next to the water. And if there is some wind and some weather, that could affect the scoring. But honestly, I have not seen anything slow Indiana down this year. So I am so confident in them winning by 2 touchdowns. I'm loving that lock.
I am blown away that this is 13.5. I think it opened at 13.5 because we always check them on Sunday. Or is it Sunday or Monday? Sunday, late Sunday evening. Blown away that this game is 13. 2 touchdowns. I'm going heavy this, Steve. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm not the Big Ten guy, and I trust your locks. But even without your lock, I love this, and I'm not the Big Ten guy. This line blows me away. Completely blows me away. I'm totally hard with you. Northwestern is not going to score to keep up with Indiana. What the hell is Vegas thinking?
No idea.
This is. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx you. I said that before. I got to be good, so I don't do anything stupid. I don't understand this line at all.
Yeah, I don't care, and I don't worry about luck on these things. I look at these.
No, you look at it for what it is.
For what it is, and yes, I love them beating Northwestern by more than 2 touchdowns. And JEH makes a point. Purdue's not a good team. I totally agree. And as I said last week, I was going to keep picking against them. I think that Wisconsin wins that game, but I'm taking Purdue plus the points just because I think it'll be a low-scoring game.
And Anthony's right. Indiana lines have been low all year.
Because of no respect.
We've won a lot of money on them, and we're going to hopefully do it again this week. Let's keep them low all year, and we'll keep on the daggone Rourke and Cignetti and Hoosier train all the way to the bank every week. And I love that they haven't figured his team out yet, and you knew it from the start of before the season started.
I think in June, I was telling you, they're going to be awesome this year.
Okay. We could talk about them for a while.
Yeah.
But we got more games to pick. We got more locks to make.
Okay, so Iowa at Ohio State. Ohio State is a 19.5 point favorite, and I'm taking Ohio State to cover that 19.5, and I'm making that my third Big Mountain ice cold lock. A lot of similarities, honestly, with this game and the UCLA Penn State game. A lot of the strengths of Ohio State, what they do really well. I think Iowa is going to have a difficult. They're going to have a real difficult time scoring points. They're going to have a difficult time stopping Ohio State. Their secondary is not nearly as good this year as it has been other years.
Right.
Really, the only thing that's been keeping Iowa going this year is they've been able to run the ball. Their running back, his name escapes me at this point, but he's been fantastic. He's been great. But honestly, Ohio State has the defensive line. They have the depth at defensive line to just keep rotating those guys in. 5-star future NFL players in the defensive line. I think they'll at least be able to slow the Iowa's running game. And Iowa has absolutely no passing game whatsoever. They've benefited from a pretty easy schedule so far. And Ohio State is firing on all cylinders. They have that freshman wide receiver who finally kind of had his breakout game this last week. Their running game is great. They've had some games this year where I think they just didn't fully put their foot on the gas. I think this game they will be ready against Iowa to put their foot on the gas and just absolutely maul them. They are better than Iowa at every single position. So I'm very confident in Ohio State to cover that 19.5. And I thought it would be like mid-20s.
Wow. Well, I will say while I was completely unsurprised by your Indiana lock, I am a little bit surprised by this lock because 19.5 against Iowa, still a good defense. I'm a little surprised, but who am I to judge a man that is 80% on his locks?
Iowa, to me, and I picked them to win a lot of games this year based on their schedule, and I still think they will.
Okay.
They are a major smoke and mirrors, the team this year, with that running game. They are so one-dimensional. Cade McNamara has still not come through and had any kind of good, successful quarterback play. And honestly, I don't think their defense is as good this year as it has been other years.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so the next game. This is what I know people were waiting for this one.
The one we've been waiting for.
So Rutgers at Nebraska. I really thought hard about this game. I am going to take Rutgers plus the 6.5 points. Okay. Now, Rutgers has scared me a little bit. They've gotten out to those leads. Monungai, one of the top running backs, most effective running backs in college football, definitely in the Big Ten right now. And their recipe has been to basically kind of start fast, run the ball, get out to a lead, and then kind of slow the whole game down.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska wins this game, okay? So if we're talking about straight bets, or straight picks, Nebraska wins this game, but I think Rutgers keeps this close using that formula.
Okay.
Part of it, too, is Raiola, he's had a good season. I've been following Rutgers, Schiano's kind of game plan for him, or what people think the game plan, and it sounds like they're going to throw a lot of zone at Raiola, which Illinois did, especially in the second half, really confused Dylan Raiola and got him to make some mistakes, miss some throws, all that. I think Rutgers is going to have success with that. I think Nebraska is the better team, and I think they're going to pull out a win, but I see this being like a field goal game, and I'd love to see Nebraska win by more than that. Honestly, I'd love to be wrong on this game.
Yeah.
But, when you saw what happened in that Illinois game, I just, Raiola is playing well. I just don't know if they are there yet on offense to be able to with Rutgers, you kind of just have to overwhelm them. And I think Rutgers is good enough where they can run the ball, play good defense, keep the possessions kind of minimal, less possessions for both teams, and keep it a low-scoring game.
Okay. All right. Well, this was the one I was most interested in seeing what you were going to do. And I actually thought you were going to go Nebraska just because of some of the question marks with Rutgers. But I get it being a close game. In your mind, it's going to be a close game. So take the 6.5. It's a field goal or two field goal game. You win the bet. So I get it.
And I do. I think Nebraska wins, but I think it'll be a low scoring.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not locking it, as you noticed. So, okay. So my next game here, USC at Minnesota. I'm taking USC to cover the 8.5 points, and I'm making that my fourth Big Mountain ice cold lock. Honestly, I have no idea what they're thinking with this line. Minnesota is a bad team. Their secondary is bad, and Minnesota has not played anybody this year that can test their secondary whatsoever. What does USC do really, really well? You saw what they did against Wisconsin last week. We saw what they did against LSU, and that is Miller Moss hitting all of these awesome athletes they have in the perimeter. He's playing Heisman level football. Minnesota does not have a chance in hell of stopping their passing game. Yeah. This is going to be a high scoring game. I can't believe this line.
Probably one-sided high scoring.
One-sided high-scoring game. Minnesota, they might be able to score some points. I don't see it. And I think Minnesota is going to try to do the same thing Rutgers is going to try to do Nebraska.
Okay.
But I think that there's going to be such a greater talent differential between Mini and USC, especially at the skill positions. And I really think Minnesota's biggest weakness, if you look on paper so far this season, they've actually had some good stats, defensive stats against the passing game.
Okay.
But it's because they played nobody that can test their passing defense. When you look at it last year, they didn't bring anybody to really improve it. I think USC is going to be able to drive the ball at will, drive the field at will. And I like USC's defense. I mean, yes, they lost to Michigan. Michigan was able to kind of break a couple runs there.
Right.
But overall, USC's defense has looked good this year. I'm not going to judge their defense based on 2 or 3 broken tackles by a really, really good Michigan running back.
Right.
I like everything I see about USC. This line, I think, is ridiculous. USC, I would lock them probably all the way up to 13.5 points.
Yeah.
This.
I'm with you. Another one, Indiana and USC. Maybe we have to come up with something even bigger than a lock, because these two lines, I totally agree with you. Man, you want to parlay some stuff?
Hey, that's
parlay
a good
these
one.
two games
USC
together.
and Indiana.
USC and Indiana. For those of you who like parlays, I think it's the first time I brought up parlays this year. I
maybe.
usually like to bring up some parlays. I'm a teaser kind of guy too, but they're sucker bets, they say.
They are.
I just like to throw shit out there.
Parlays can be a little bit sucker bets too.
Yeah,
Vegas wants you to do some parlays, but
When you hit them, it feels darn good.
It feels really good.
All right.
Okay, so the next game and my last Big Ten game.
If I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Speaking of parlays, we had a couple people mention they hit some mighty big parlays because they parlayed all 6 of our locks last week, Steve.
Amazing.
Yeah, they parlayed them and they won.
You showed me a screenshot.
Yeah, I got a
Twitter,
couple
Reddit.
of them.
It's unbelievable.
I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I'm really happy for it.
I wish I would have done it.
And I've hit some parlays. I didn't go all 6. I'll parlay 2 or 3 of the locks usually each week.
Yeah.
So
anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You're on to who you on? Michigan.
Okay, so Michigan traveling to Washington. Michigan's been about what I thought they've been. Washington's actually been a little better than I thought. I struggled this game, but I am going to take Michigan plus the 2.5 points. I don't feel great about this game. I think it's a toss-up. The thing is Michigan has such a strong running game, but absolutely, they can't complete a forward pass. Washington, I think, has, again, they've surprised me. I think their defense has been a little bit better than I expected. I think Jed Fish has this team. So it really wouldn't surprise me if Washington actually did win. I have this just as a coin flip game. I'm going to go with Michigan. I'm not locking this game. I don't think I'm going to bet this game myself.
Okay.
But just for the sake of picking, I'm going to take the Michigan plus the 2.5. Really, honestly, with this game, because I think it's such a coin flip, I was going to take whoever was getting a couple points.
Wow, that surprises me. The line surprises me. Your picking Michigan doesn't surprise me, but the fact that you were going to take the points surprises me because maybe, I don't know. I don't know that it's Big Ten, but my goodness, it's Michigan playing Washington.
Yeah, but I mean, Michigan is just not what they were last year. They're a shell. They still have such a good defense. They have such a good running game. So you think, okay, they're still Michigan, but my goodness, how do you win in modern college football with the status of their passing game? I mean, their passing game is utterly awful, utterly terrible.
Dave Portnoy was going to buy a quarterback for him.
Yeah, he needs to.
$3 million. I said, could I maybe get, this was before realizing Williams is even better than Sluka.
Yeah.
Could I get 3% of that? Or could you send 3% of that to UNLV? And at this point, I'm like, I would have been money wasted because Williams is fantastic. I'll get to that game later. But anyway.
Imagine if Michigan would have got Rourke this year, they would be a playoff team. Just a guy who can efficiently run that offense.
Right.
But Orgy is bad. I mean, really, really bad.
Well, apparently Spence, he's on here. He was one of the guys that parlayed the six locks, and he made himself some nice casciole.
Very nice.
So well done, Spence. Hey, if you're new to the channel, just let us know. We welcome you here. Thanks, and I'm glad you hit. I love. We're here to make. We want to win, but
make some money, baby.
It's actually more fun to see other people winning too.
Yep.
Yeah, we're take down Vegas 1-0. dweller at a time.
Let's do it. So I got one more pick.
Yes,
I'm picking every FSU
Your
game.
damn
here.
FSU pick.
Yeah, so I think you might actually be happy about this
Okay.
one. So Clemson is traveling to FSU. I'm taking Clemson to cover the 14.5 points. And I actually thought about locking this, but just didn't. If it was under 14, I think I may have locked it. It was like a 12.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I may have locked it. Clemson, since that loss to Georgia, the season opening loss to Georgia, Clemson has been fantastic.
Yes, they have.
They're better and better. DJU for Florida State is going to be out. He's out with a broken finger.
Okay.
I think his name is Brock, is the backup who's going to be starting. This is turning. I mean, obviously Florida State's a huge disappointment this year. This has turned into a rebuilding year.
Right.
And maybe Brock comes in and catches fire. And DJU, this year didn't work out for him. The situation didn't work out for him. But he's definitely not the only problem that Florida State has.
Okay.
So unless they totally catch fire, I feel great about Clemson covering this line. I think they're just they're at least a 2-touchdown better team this year. They're playing so much better. Florida State has not shown us anything that suggests that they can beat or even stay within a couple touchdowns of Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a team here that, like you said, after that first game, Clemson looks darn good, and FSU, they can't figure out who the hell they are. I mean, they're just treading water like crazy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I was actually a little surprised, like you say, that this line was maybe as low as it was. I get the 13.5 possible lock on this. I mean, I think Clemson, they got their crap together, and I mean, this is Clemson FSU.
Absolutely.
They don't care if FSU's struggling. They want to pound these dudes into the ground.
And they can, I mean, Clemson has an opportunity to come out, make a statement here, because even though Florida State is disappointed this year, that would be a big statement. It would grab national attention if they can blow Florida State out.
Yeah.
Especially. JEH is in the chat talking about DJU. So JEH, how are you feeling about DJU this year and his journey down to Tallahassee and how it's worked out?
Yeah,
he can put that in the chat.
He can put that in the chat.
We'll see what's up.
Well, we're getting a little thank yous from peeps. You know, we got Shorts, we got Phil, Chris is on with our run. Keep up the good work. We are trying to keep up the good work. Steve just ended his Big Ten games with 4 locks.
Yeah, so one more thing I want to note.
Okay.
Because Short says Michigan messed up his parlay. That's another reason why I think the line is so small. You were the way that actually Minnesota came back on them was a little crazy. And I think that's why the line is where it is.
So you don't think it's Minnesota maybe being better.
No.
You think it's Michigan maybe being worse, even though they beat USC.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Just because they're so one-dimensional on offense. I mean, it's just so hard to win by any substantial amount of points in modern college football when you cannot complete a forward pass.
I understand. Yeah, it's very difficult. So Spence brings up the fact that FSU was very bad versus SMU. Am I allowed to say it, Steve?
Yeah.
That you picked FSU and I picked SMU.
You did.
I did make it clear that it was not an official pick.
Yeah.
But I would have gone with SMU in that case. But it is what it is. I just would have no trust. If I'm you, because I know you're the one picking FSU, I would never pick them the rest of the season.
Look,
I don't care what happens.
I stake my reputation on my Big Ten picks.
I understand.
Florida State, it just is what it is.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. And actually, if I went back to your spreads and I took out the FSU picks, your numbers would be even better. Not your locks, because you haven't locked them yet. But your spread picks would be even better because they did not treat you well to start the season.
Did not.
All right. Well, are we ready for the Mountain West?
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the big one because it's a Friday night. I am anxious for my Friday night game here. Syracuse at UNLV. The line is 6.5, and I am taking the Rebels. This line has moved a lot. I believe you said, was it 2 a.m. on Sunday morning? It was 2.5 or something like that. Are you making noises, Steve?
Sorry, here. I need a cough drop.
That's okay. What was I saying? Oh, you said the line started at 2.5. I got up and saw it was at 3.5, and then moved to 4.5. And then just before today, because I always check our lines before I try to get our stuff as accurate as possible for our mountain dwellers. It's at 6.5, but I'm still taking UNLV. I like them at the touchdown.
This is what a degenerate gambler I have become.
There's nothing degenerate about
I got home 2 o'clock in the morning, Saturday night, well, really Sunday morning after the whiteout, and I'm sitting awake looking at FanDuel, grabbing those awesome early lines. Right. So we always tell you guys about Saturday night, Sunday morning, you get some awesome early lines, and I grabbed the 2.5. 2:00 in the morning.
That's great value, 2.5, because it's up to 6.5. I'm glad I'm at least able to give it out right now under the touchdown, because I wouldn't be surprised over the next 24 hours this sucker goes up to 7.5. That would not surprise me. A lot of money coming in on the Rebels, and excuse me, I want to talk about this a little bit, because obviously we all know about Syracuse's offense.
Yeah.
With the transfer of McCord. I might need a sucker too. Hold on. If I just give it a good hard one, I'll be all right.
Okay.
Turn your head and cough, JY. Turn your head and cough. But anyway, we all know about the Syracuse offense here, and McCord and everything that he's been doing, and he is super duper dangerous. But I kind of did some comparisons here. Obviously they've had some good wins. I looked at their stats against Stanford. I looked at their stats against Georgia Tech. Right there, it was 359 yards for Stanford versus the Syracuse D, and Georgia Tech had 439. They both scored, one was 26 and 28 points. The UNLV offense, in my opinion, is better than those two offenses and will score more points than those two offenses. I think UNLV is well into the 30s in this game. The question will be, can the defense of the Rebels stop McCord? Same question we talked about with the Fresno versus UNLV game, and I'm going to say, especially after that Fresno game, I am very confident that the Rebels D will cause havoc on McCord and that passing game. He will not have an easy game of it, and I think that the UNLV defense continues to roll here. I think they're going to get to McCord. They're going to throw him off his game, and when you do that, it doesn't matter how good of a quarterback you are, you can't throw the ball because you're worried about getting whacked. And that's what I think is going to happen again. We saw it against Fresno. I think you're going to see it again on Friday against Syracuse.
UNLV is a complete team and Syracuse is not. I mean, that's the big difference between them, in my opinion. And honestly, I think they're similar talent levels. It's just UNLV is so complete on both offense and defense, whereas Syracuse is really, it's offense, it's McCord, it's those players they were able to bring in. And I think McCord will hit some passes.
Oh, yeah, he will.
He'll make plays. I saw one drive in the Fresno game, and Mikey Keene would hit a couple passes. But eventually, I agree with you. I think what's going to happen is you'll hit a few passes here and there, but when that defense just keeps coming after you, they have the great combination of what you want in a defense: a pass rush with a ball hawking corner in a secondary who can make interceptions and make plays. And when you rattle the quarterback, you hit him. He starts making bad decisions. He starts rushing his decisions. And I think the UNLV defense will be able to do that to Kyle McCord. But I mean, I'm impressed with Kyle this year.
Oh yeah,
he's done a great job there. And I think he will throw for some yards. He will hit some passes. But it's not going to be enough because UNLV is just a more complete team.
Yep, and so I am actually going to pick the score of this game.
Okay.
We did it last week. Well, actually, I didn't do it. Our special guest picked the score. I'm going to throw a score out. I got this 34-24 Rebels.
Okay.
That's my score pick, 34-24 Rebels.
I'm going to say I don't think it'll be that close.
You think it's going to be even bigger?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Steve thinks it's more than a 10-point spread there. So, all right, let's get to the next one. Oh, Steve, you're going to love this one.
Okay.
Air Force versus Navy.
Oh, boy.
And for everyone that doesn't know, Steve is a retired Navy veteran.
Yes.
You were a shipman. What do you call it?
I retired as a chief in the Navy.
A chief?
After 22 years, yeah.
I'm sorry, Steve.
No,
I should remember that.
I think what you're thinking of seaman.
No, I wasn't. I didn't want to go there at night.
Well, everybody who joins, when you first join and you go to boot camp, you're a seaman recruit.
Okay. I wasn't going to say that.
Okay.
But you are a chief in the Navy.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. And because of that, Steve, no, that's not the reason why.
Okay.
I am picking Navy at -9.5. I'm surprised this is this close.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised this is this close, Steve. I'm making this my first Big Mountain Ice Cold lock.
Boom.
And you may say, JY, this is a service academy game. Anything can happen, and anything usually does happen.
Yep.
You should never be locking a service academy game. But I say to that, Air Force has no offense, and Navy has been smoking people this year. They're gonna score points, and I get it. It's at Air Force. I get it's a service academy game. Oh man, Air Force is gonna struggle to keep up here with Navy. And I mean, the Pokes scored 31 points on these guys, and nothing to knock the Pokes. They haven't had a great offense this year.
Air Force had a great season last year, and they've had a great run with that coach. But unfortunately, this year they may be one of the like bottom 10 FBS teams in the country.
Yeah.
And Navy has played fantastic. I think they just smoked Memphis a couple weeks ago. So I like your pick.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's 9.5.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Navy has an awesome dual threat. This kid is Horvath.
Yeah.
Really, really strong dual threat. He's 69% passing, 7 touchdowns. But of course, they like to run the ball like all freaking service academies do. 47 rushes for 450 yards and 8 touchdowns. The defense here for Navy has 8 turnovers on the season. We all know they beat Memphis here. Was it 2 weeks ago? 56-44. 56-44. What are we doing? This isn't going to be close. Lock Navy.
Go Navy, beat Air Force.
And Clint says he just got back from football practice. Welcome, sir. And he says Oktoberfest with you, JY. Prost and Oktoberfest.
Awesome.
Let me fill it back up. Hold on, I got a little bit. I got to keep it in my glass. Sorry, I'll keep going. All right, the next one here. Boop, boop, boop. The next one here we got Colorado State versus JEH's Oregon State minus 11.5.
The Beavs.
And I'm taking the Beavs at minus 11.5. The Rams don't have any offense. I've been saying this all season. They do not have any offense. Oregon State is better on both sides of the ball. They are 100% better on both sides of the ball. And because of that, Steve, I'm going 2 in a row. Big Mountain, ice cold lock. 11.5. I mean, this is a 14 to 21 point spread to me. 2 to 3 touchdowns. I've got a nice gap of a field goal here-ish to give up to make this my lock. I think Oregon State rolls here. I don't see CSU being able to hold up. I mean, one of the best quarterbacks in the Mountain West, Fowler Nicolasi, has shown nothing here over the course of this season. If anything, this offense has taken a step back from last year, which is a head scratcher, and they don't have much of a defense. So, yeah, we got to go Oregon State, and I got to go lock because they're coming off a bye. They're ready to rock and roll. So let's go Beavs.
I love the fact that you're locking the Beavs. They're a good, solid team. They run the ball well. They have a good defense. Obviously, we saw they're not at that talent level with Oregon. Close your ears, JEH. But they're going to win a lot of games this year. They're a good, solid team. And CSU this year is just extremely flawed. I don't know what they do well. Last year, you could at least say they're going to throw the ball and they're going to score a lot of points.
Yes.
Well, they're not doing anything well this year, so I love the lock.
I mean, they were blown out by Colorado.
Yeah.
And Colorado doesn't have very good defense.
Right.
I mean, how is this an 11.5 point spread? So, had to lock it. Had to lock it. All right. Next one. Utah State, the Aggies versus Boise State. 26.5 is the spread. I, of course, have to take the Broncos here. They are a scoring machine. Heisman Genty just going off. This Aggies defense ain't stopping much of anything in this game. I was close to locking this game, Steve. I'll be honest. Yeah. I was close to locking this game. I'm not going to do it. 26.5, you're getting up there a little bit, but this isn't going to be a close game. I mean, the Broncos are going to roll here. So, yes, I know by first, 4 picks have all been the faves, but that's where you go. When you get in the good lines, you got to go with the faves, and so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, Boise is a very complete team. I mean, they look like they're, Boise and UNLV just look like they are on a collision course. Obviously, the 2 best teams in the Mountain West, and maybe the 2 best G5 teams in the country.
Yeah.
Both of them look great. Genty, to me, is the best overall running back I've seen since Saquon Barkley as a Penn State fan. He reminds me a lot of him. Just so explosive, just so hard to contain. They're not going to be able to contain him. And Boise, just even without him, they're just a good, solid team.
They are.
So I love the pick.
And the defense, honestly, doing better than I thought they would because they're able to get pressure on the quarterback.
Yes.
I think if they play some teams, UNLV's lines are fantastic. Both sides of the ball. We brought up what Ricky White said about the O-line and, hey, Circa dude, instead of giving the money to Sluka, give it to the offensive line. That'll be the telltale sign of that game when we get to that here in a few weeks. Whose line is going to dominate? And I'll tell you where I stand right now. I think UNLV's line beats the Boise lines. Although Boise's got a great offensive line for Genty to run through. But anyway, we're picking this game. I'm taking the Broncos. So the next one, an interesting game here. Nevada versus San Jose State. Teams that I had towards the bottom of my preseason ranking, but both teams doing better than I had expected overall, and San Jose State really going off. So I got to take the Spartans here at -6.5. They're coming off a bye. This offense is really, really good, and Nevada has looked really good. I just don't think they have the offense to keep up with this San Jose State offense whatsoever. So I'm going to take, at San Jose State to win by a touchdown. I think is a very safe pick here with the offense that they have. Emmett Brown has looked really, really good there for San Jose State. We saw what he did against the Cougs, although I will say the Cougs defense is not very good. But be that as it may, I think San Jose State is very well the safe pick here. So now I'm 5 in a row. I'm 5 in a row taking the faves, but you got to do it. When you're under this touchdown with a fave that I think, especially when these teams, San Jose State specifically, has such a great offense, I'll take the 6.5 all day.
For me, it's been a surprise. Both teams have been a pleasant surprise this year, their offense. But even more so with San Jose State, that Nash and Gash offense, just fantastic. I think Nevada has a hard time stopping that.
So Josh Azani says, not looking good for the Aggies, but he'll be rooting for them. Well, he's an Aggies fan. Yeah. He should root for them. But yes, a little bit of a struggle. They're struggling a bit more than I thought they would at this point in the season. And our buddy Joey, who was giving me a hard time about San Jose State, I shouldn't say giving me a hard time. He was trying to open my eyes to San Jose State early on, and he noticed that I have turned. He's on here tonight, so I got to give a shout out to Joey because he's been nice enough. He's been nice enough, but he's been like, JY, you're wrong. And I'll admit it, I was wrong. Well, this offense is freaking awesome.
He says your transition to Sparta is complete.
Yes.
I don't know if it's complete yet because we'll see. I don't know their schedule. Yeah. But if they start playing teams like Boise and like UNLV, you may see some picks that are a little different.
We got a couple Spartans here, Joey. We got Phil say, go Spartans. Good pick. I think it's a very safe pick. I like this pick a lot. Another one I contemplated locking. I didn't want to go off and lock all my freaking picks. Right. But I really like this pick. And David says UTEP for the win. We're going to get here. Let me get one more pick, and then we're going to get into some Mountain West goodies with additions and all that kind of stuff here shortly. So the last one, San Diego State versus Hawaii. I was surprised by this line. Hawaii is getting the 2.5 points, and I'm going to take the points. So my first underdog that I'm taking points on are the Rainbow Warriors. San Diego State just struggling. I mean, I called it a rebuild a couple weeks ago. I had a couple people on X were like, "Oh, don't name them yet. We're not sure if it's a rebuild." It's a rebuild. That's not a knock. It's just it is what it is. And Hawaii here, I mentioned they let me down versus Sam Houston. Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? But my goodness, Sam Houston beating freaking Texas State here last week, and they're looking like a serious contender for that conference in Conference USA, and they look fantastic. So, I mean, they rolled, I think Hawaii, it was 31-14 or something like that, and they just beat an upstart Texas State team that some people thought had a chance to win the conference there. And, so, I was questioning the Hawaii game there. They looked great in their last game, and okay, it was Northern Iowa. Okay, fine. Shager looked fantastic in the first half. So I got to take the points here with the Rainbow Warriors, and I just have no confidence in San Diego State. I mean, they blew a lead last week. They're winning at the half. They get skunked in the second half. That can't happen if you want to win a game.
Still just a rebuilding year for San Diego State, which we said from the very beginning. It is what it is. However, I will never trust the Jekyll and Hyde Hawaii Rainbows. I know. So I won't be betting that game.
I'm going to bet it because I like it. I like that they're getting points, honestly. And, people can call me an Aztec hater, but it is what it is. So anyway, that's where we're at. Hopefully you guys appreciate our picks. As we said, we went 6-0 on locks. We have another 6 this week. I think that was lightning in a well, let's do it again. I was going to say I think that was lightning in a bottle, but you're confident
about it. Let's do it again.
Let's rock and roll, baby. Parlay that up just like some people were doing. So anyway, hey, and while we're at it, make sure you're giving this one a like. I know we always forget to say that, but make sure you give this one a like. And we're going to transfer into some Mountain West talk. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. So, as we all know, well, I think everybody knows, UTEP has decided to join the Mountain West. They have accepted the invite from the Mountain West for 2026. I'm not going to get into it too deep because we'll let everyone know. We just, before this live show, we recorded a UTEP-centric episode, and it's about a 30-minute show. We get into UTEP. We want to kind of get all the Mountain West viewers and fans kind of up to speed on where UTEP is. We talk about the city. We talk about recruiting. We talk about the coach. We talk about all kinds of good stuff. And they had a fantastic recruiting class, by the way. So, yeah, things are looking really, really up. This could be a really good team in 2 years when they join the Mountain West. I know they're 0-4. Everybody, they suck and blah, 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 blah. This could be a really strong team in the Mountain West in 2026. So, anyway, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a couple comments on
UTEP?
UTEP, yes. Okay. University of Texas El Paso. I think it's a good move. You and I have been talking about the need to get into Texas. This gets them into Texas, and that area is growing, that school is growing. I think it's a really solid move, and I think they just fit into the culture. And we talked about that a lot on that episode. I hope everyone watches it.
Yeah.
And they have that history in the WAC before playing a lot of these now Mountain West teams.
Right.
I just think they fit in the culture. I think it'll be a good move, and I'm happy to see the Mountain West get us into Texas. I really strongly believe the Mountain West should still continue to push into the state of Texas. I don't think they should be done. I would get at least one more team out of that state.
Well, we're going to get into that maybe a little bit more here in a few minutes. But we know for now they have UTEP, and I agree. Just the most natural fit, honestly, of any team, outside of maybe New Mexico State. Just super natural fits here. And let me tell you, when you're on socials and stuff, and you see a fan base that is like 99.9% excited about this, that's the type of program you want to bring into your conference. Not a program that's like, well, I'd rather be over there, but I guess I'll go over here because you gave me an invite. I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. But I'll tell you what, UTEP fans are super excited about it. I'm super excited to have them. Welcome back to the Mountain West. It was the WAC back then. Yeah. Same type of deal,
And I want to add there, if you had to choose, if I had to choose, and I'm not saying this just because I've had some bias against New Mexico, the New Mexico schools, but if you have to choose between one or the other, between them and New Mexico State, I think UTEP is the right choice. I think it brings in a different market, gets you into that state, and I've seen some suggestions that the Lobos don't want New Mexico State in there. So I think that UTEP brings you a lot of things that New Mexico State would have, but I think better. I think it's a better pick. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I to me, I was happy with either one.
Yeah,
I like the fact that I get it. It's more New Mexico than Texas. That's why I keep hearing from people. Hey, it's still Texas. It's still El Paso, Texas. It's still part of the University of Texas system. That to me, that means something. And Mountain West can say, we're in Texas. That's important to me.
And the population is growing.
Yeah.
The Sun Bowl being a venue to host Mountain West games, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. So I know we're gaining some viewers here. We appreciate that. If the chat gets a little hot, we might miss some stuff. But we'll try to keep up with our chatters as well, because we are getting into the Mountain West at this point. I know some people probably came on to hear a lot of that. I've been on X quite a lot over the last week. And like I said, I've got some great UTEP followers here as well. They are just super excited. So I want to get into real quick, before I maybe go down the path of who's next, I do want to bring up just the statement here from the Mountain West Conference. I want to point out just a few things here. In the second paragraph, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read this part. It says, these 7 institutions have made the important decision to continue together and exemplify the strong alignment and commitment to student athletes and community among these universities. And of course, as you know, I say this a lot on X. At the bottom, it says, the future is bright. We will ascend together. And I try to use that tagline, this whole we will ascend together, a lot on X. I love the tagline. And they created that about what was it, 6 months ago, the beginning of the year with their new strategic plan. My goodness, does it mean something totally different now than what it did then. And I just love it. I think it's great. So you'll see me text a lot, or not text, X a lot, ascend together. In glory we trust. Our guest from UTEP has kind of mentioned that. I've been saying that a lot. I think she's doing a phenomenal job. Yes, there's some haters out there, but she's got members she has to deal with. She's got the market and the media market that she has to deal with, and she's got schools that maybe just don't want to come, and it has nothing to do with the Mountain West. It has to do with maybe they're waiting for a better opportunity to the east, or they're just happy where they're at. And all these people want to judge, and it's like, what are you judging for? She was given a poor situation. I think she's doing a phenomenal job, and it goes back to this: we're going to stay together. The future's bright. Ascend together. And I'm loving it. I got to be honest. It just seems like they're so strong, and they're so strong because they have a strong leader. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, all of our mountain dwellers know that my preference from the very beginning was to have a merger between the conferences. I think that would have been, but that's done now. Like you have to make the best of the situation. And I think both conferences, I think are moving in that direction, and they're doing a good job looking at what's best for them. I think Mountain West, there's a lot of exciting opportunities. There's a lot of exciting teams, and they're looking at schools and programs that are on the ascent.
Yes.
Maybe they weren't power schools in the 1990s when we were growing up watching college football, but they are ascending. They're coming up. They're growing. They have investment. And I think that's a really smart move by the Mountain West.
All right, so let's get to maybe some schools. And these are not schools that will be due, but I do have some information I want to bring up. So if we bring up a map real quick, I put this up on X today, and it was asking a question. It was like, is the Mountain West trying to really get into the central time zone? Certainly we know they, the media has said they first looked at Northern Illinois. They looked at Toledo, which Toledo is actually Eastern time zone. But we know Tarleton State has been discussions. We know Texas State has had discussions. So these are all, schools, and hell, even UTEP. I know it's mountain, but it's the furthest east that they have right now. They're clearly looking east. So I put this up on them, like, are they actually, are they really looking to create a central time zone contingent? And the three I put on there are Tarleton State, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. I put on Northern Illinois because we've known about them, and I put on San Diego, North Dakota State, because they are one of the strongest FCS schools that may look, especially if you're getting a contingent of Central Time Zone. And Northern Illinois and North Dakota State, they're not that far apart. I mean, they're not. And it was brought up on one of our, I think I saw it on X, that Northern Illinois back in the late 90s was actually with. I don't remember what conference it was, but they were playing San Jose State, and they were playing, I think it was New Mexico and a few others. My history on that is not as good, but Northern Illinois does have a bit of a tie to some of those West Coast teams. So it's just interesting. That doesn't mean history is going to replay itself. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at. So I wanted to put that up there because it's interesting to me looking at the Central Time Zone with some of the schools that we know they're going after. We'll see what happens. So with that, I want to talk a little more about Tarleton State.
Okay.
So here's some things that we know right now. We know that Tom Berman, the AD of Wyoming, has said that FCS schools are on the board. They're on the board to go after, if you will. He didn't elaborate on how many schools are on the board or how many FCS schools or which FCS schools. He didn't elaborate on that. He just confirmed that there are some FCS schools on the board. We know Tarleton is one of them. Ross Dellinger said there are serious talks to Tarleton State about joining the Mountain West. I learned today that these are extremely serious talks to join the Mountain West. I've been pumping them a lot on X, and it's not, I'm not trying to make something out of nothing. I'm trying to show people what this school is, because a lot of people are like, I've never even heard of this school.
I didn't hear of them until a few weeks ago.
Yeah, who's Tarleton State? And if you go and actually look at them, you go, wow, they're an up-and-comer. They have a lot of money behind them. They're in a great market. They're in the state of Texas. I mean, they are hitting all kinds of marks here. They want to, from what I understand, is they want to make the move. I'll be honest, Steve, I think this could happen. I don't know that for a fact. I don't have any insider information saying, yeah, hey, JY, it's going to happen. I don't know that it's going to happen, but I'll tell you what, it really seems like a really good possibility that Tarleton State could be a Mountain West member. I like everything about it, Steve. I'll be honest. I mean, it was a school that we brought up maybe a month or two ago on one of our...
Somebody brought it up to us.
A commenter said, hey, look at this. And when I looked at it,
like, wow.
I went, wow, that's a great school to take a look at. And ever since then, it's just kind of built steam for me. And then this Ross Dellinger reporting comes out, was it on Monday, I think. And man, it seems like all systems go. I think it's close. Oh, anything you want to add?
Well, real quick about Tarleton State, I looked at someone shared, maybe it was you shared, someone else, their facilities on Twitter.
Yes.
They've invested a ton of money, and honestly, Penn State just renovated some of their facilities. Tarleton State's facilities are pretty close, not too far off of what Penn State has now, and a lot better than what Penn State had a few years ago before they renovated. So that's my thought on Tarleton State. When you're done with all, I have some thoughts on overall strategy.
Okay.
Yep.
So to be clear, it's Tarleton State. If you want to go search them, TARLETON, Tarleton State. And it was actually somebody on X commented when they were looking at those pictures, were like, wow, this is way better than what UTSA has.
Yep.
Like, and they're
really
not
nice
similar
facilities.
market,
Yeah.
but they're close.
Yep.
I'm telling you, they've got it figured out, and they've got the money. And I see a lot of people kind of giving that, yep, that makes sense, go get them, good candidate, all that kind of stuff. I see Josh saying Sam Houston. I get Sam Houston, and I actually put out on the one video, Genetics, a friend of the show, kind of went through his analytics and picked who they were. I don't think he looks at FCS, so I don't want to comment on why Tarleton wasn't there, because they're an FCS school right now. So I think it was all FBS based. But he did have Sam Houston at the top of his list. And real quick, while we're talking about that, I want to talk about Texas State. I'm not surprised. And anybody throwing shade at the Mountain West for Texas State doesn't really know what they're talking about. I said all along, I always had an asterisk behind them. It's worth the ask. I don't know if they're ready or willing to go. And it just came out that we're not ready and willing to go. And whether that's because they want to go to the AAC eventually or whatever the case may be, it wasn't the right fit for them. And frankly, I'm not that surprised. I'm happy that the Mountain West at least asked. They at least went there first. Now, is Tarleton State, were they always the backup to Texas State? Or was it, I also posted, hey, we're going heavy. We're going maybe 3 into Texas. We will never know whether they were going for a trifecta of Texas or not, or if Tarleton State was contingent upon Texas State. I actually think they were going for all 3. I honestly don't think it was an or. It was, okay, we got a plan B. I think they were actually trying to go for all 3. And if you can get 2 of the 3, it's a freaking win. I don't care what anybody says. It's a win. So that's where I'm at. I'll stop beating the Tarleton drum. I'm going to go back to the Sacramento State drum.
Okay.
Because I beat that sucker a lot too. My only fear with Sacramento State, Steve, and this is a little bit of still emotional, opened wound, too soon type of talk, where, you see Sac State, they're putting all this kind of stuff out. They are banging the drum, but they're banging the drum for the PAC. Like, it's all PAC or other FBS, or just, the one is the, the SAC-12, PAC-12. And, it's all about the PAC. And it's like, man, we kind of lost some schools that wanted more. And now potentially we're going to get a school that, they'll take us and they'll be happy-ish, but that's not really what they wanted. I mean, so I've gotten a little bit, I I've cooled a little bit on Sacramento State. I still love the market. I still love that it's in California. We talk about recruiting in Texas. You got to get recruiting in California as well. So I still like Sacramento State. They want to invest. They want to be FBS. That's all great. Again, the emotional side of me is like, I'm not so sure. They'd rather have some other conference. Why do we want to take them? You know what I mean? Like, we're not second to anybody. Even though I guess we kind of are. But in my opinion, you don't want to be second to anybody, right? You want to be the best you can be. So I don't know. That's where I'm at with Sac State. What do you think?
All right. So I have a reply to that, and which is just I can't hold it back anymore.
No,
it's gonna
good.
be in my overall.
I love
what
it.
I think so. So here's the thing. I think you're speaking from emotion.
I am.
There.
I am. I said that.
You've been scarred. You've been burned.
The wound is still fresh.
Yes. Okay. So I like their strategy. They went after Texas State. It doesn't look like that's going to work out. Was it Texas State or North Texas? Texas State.
Texas State.
Texas State. They went after them. Doesn't look like it's going to work out.
No.
There's rumors they're going after a couple MAC schools. You mentioned Northern Illinois and Toledo.
Right.
I think would be fantastic getting into the Central time zone and maybe even the Eastern time zone.
That's a step too far for me, but keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as from a TV marketing, it makes
That's
a lot of sense.
got to be where it's coming from, right?
Like, yes, and I think, and we see both the PAC and the Mountain West are looking east.
Yes.
I think they're getting feedback from their potential media partners that they want to see that. So I get why they're going there. And if that works out, like especially Northern Illinois, I think makes more sense. We'll see. But I've heard, I keep seeing on Twitter that there's some reluctance, there's some pushback, there's some resistance going FCS. Maybe some of the other conferences don't want them to bring too many FCS teams up because of the settlement or whatever. But to me, I think right now, the Mountain West has to be ruthless, take emotion totally out of it, and look at everything from a business perspective.
And I said that a couple times. Like, business is business.
Yes.
You know, and right now, if I had to put my business hat on, I could, but that's not what I do here.
Well, I'm putting my business hat. I'm putting my business hat on, and I like the UTEP.
Yeah.
I think they still need to go and dip into that well, that Texas black gold oil well, some more times.
Yeah.
We're talking about Tarleton State potentially or Sam Houston. I like both. You know, if you can't get Texas State, you got UTEP. Let's go down and grab two of them. Then we got 3 Texas schools.
Yeah.
If you're looking to add a fourth, I still like Sac State. They can want and hope to get into the Pac-10 all they want, or Pac-12 or Pac whatever it is now, Pac-7. I don't see that happening. And at some point, I think they're going to realize that. And if they want to go FBS, I think the Mountain West would be a great opportunity for them. And I think for the Mountain West, it would make a lot of sense to go back and grab another California market, like we talked about, get a little bit of. So what are the states right now that are valuable in media? You have Texas, you have California. Dip into that Texas black gold a few more times. Go over, grab some California gold over there.
Right.
I think those are fantastic ways. And I don't care what the other conferences, the other FBS schools think, or the NCAA thinks as far as should we bring up more FCS teams. If we can't get the FBS teams, we got to make the decision that's best for us. And all the teams we're talking about, they're growing. Tarleton State, I mean, you can just see the investment there. Obviously, Sac State has some investment. Sam Houston has been growing. They moved up to FBS, and they're to me, they're on the ascent.
Yep.
So for me, I think getting into Texas, getting into California would be great. If you could, those 2 MAC teams, cool. If you can get one of those, great. But if not, I think Texas and California, those states are the best way to go. That's the best strategy overall for the Mountain West.
And I agree with you. I mean, I think I put out North Dakota State on several things. There's nothing behind that at this point. You know, we know Sac State has a massive PR push right now for FBS. We know that's happening. We've heard that they have reached out to the conferences. We don't know if any conferences have really reciprocated interest, but we know they have reached out. At this point, I think it's clear that PAC is not interested. I'm not sure why they would be interested. That's not what they're looking to do, quite frankly. But we do know Tarleton State and Sac State are kind of, they're in the realm of possibility. North Dakota State at this point is pure speculation just based on the school that they are, the funding that they have, the location. all that kind of stuff. So there's nothing behind that for me other than just who they are.
Yeah.
That's all that it is. I have not heard anything other than that from North Dakota State.
North Dakota State and the Montana schools would make for fun, entertaining football. I just
but that's not what's driving it.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's media value right now.
And I see that a lot. I see a lot of commenters. I see a lot of commenters saying, "Why don't they just merge?" I'm sorry, and I'm not going to reply, but to people because it happens a lot. But that a merger is totally off the table, and we even heard that from AD Berman. He's like, "There's been no talk about that, and there's not going to be." At this point, they have 7 schools each.
Yep.
They're close enough. And they're both going to get another 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever they choose to get. They're going to do it, at least to have 2 conferences, and that's where we're headed. This whole merger thing, while it might make sense in people's minds, it is not going to happen.
Yeah. So we have a little pushback from Raj about Texas, about UTEP, and some of the other schools in Texas not bringing you Texas. Here's the thing. Texas is such a massive state, population, TV markets. You don't. I completely disagree with you, Raj, because you don't have to get all of Texas. Obviously, the bigger schools, University of Texas, Texas A&M, those big schools, they're the number one. But if you have the number 5, 6, 7 TV market, whatever, even 8 TV market in Texas, you are still bringing in media value. There's just so much value in that state. You can bring in plenty of value to the Mountain West by dipping into Texas.
So that college football guy asked about the crazy rumor regarding a merger between the Mountain West and Conference USA. I've seen that, and how do I say this without talking down to another conference? I mean, when you look at the media deals with these 2 conferences right now, and I get it, they're losing Boise, they're losing Fresno, they're losing San Diego State. I get that. I just think there's more value to the Mountain West than there is Conference USA, and I'm not sure why they would merge. I'm not sure what that gets them. I haven't given a lot of thought to it, but maybe I'm being as ignorant as wise, to the people that I'm talking about with the PAC and the Mountain West. I don't quite see a merger happening or really making sense.
I just don't see it making sense because both schools are both conferences are gonna be towards the lower ends of media deals, and they're just not gonna have the travel involved in merging Mountain West with Conference USA just does not make sense. Traveling, from San Jose to Virginia, just does not make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes sense now. Now, 5-6 years from now, could we see groups of the G conferences band together, 2 of them together, 3, 4 of them together?
Yeah.
I think you could see something like that. And I think people's their mind, they're starting to go that way, which might be the future. But for right now, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, it sounds like we need to do a G6 draft with that college football guy. That's what it sounds like. And he did say it's a crazy rumor. Yeah. I get that for sure. It's Delaware to Hawaii. No, thank you for sure. And I get it. You're just putting it out there. I appreciate you putting out a comment that we can maybe
Didn't Delaware and Hawaii play this year?
Wasn't that Delaware State? Yes, Delaware State played Hawaii at the last minute. I'm sure they got a couple nice bucks, and they had all kinds of travel issues.
They did,
which is why we say no, thank you. But we got some of our. I think Raj. I don't think he's on anymore. I think he came on, made some kind of
dropped some hot takes and leave.
Snarky comments and left. But we got our boys here on the mountain: David, Josh, and John. The trifecta of reasons why you want to be in Texas. And they say recruits, eyeballs, and money.
Right.
That's pretty obvious.
And there's so much of all of those things.
All of that stuff is down there. Yeah. So thank you guys for having our back. David, Josh, and John, they're just nailing it for us. But yeah, so I think that's about, let me look at my notes, make sure there wasn't anything else I wanted to say on the Mountain West. You have something? Go ahead.
No, you're
okay. I see some love for Sac State out there. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know where that might head. Was Tarleton State number 1 on my list for where the Mountain West might go with FCS schools? Nope. But I'll tell you what, I'm not disappointed either.
Right.
Pretty damn strong.
And the thing is when you're looking at the conferences, they can't look at who was powerful, who was good in 1990s, like us old guys. They got to look at what are the emerging markets now? What can get us either now a TV contract and 5 years from now, 10 years from now when we get the next TV contract?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Raj is still on. We still got him.
Okay.
He's talking to that college football guy. And I think he just put out, I would do a shout out to him. I didn't get to watch it, but apparently he got pretty spicy regarding the PAC earlier today.
Ooh,
so
I gotta
gotta
watch that.
Yeah, if you want to see apparently a spicy one, check out his video on the PAC.
So Raj is asking us to do a crossover episode. We actually already did that. We did a Super League draft. It was about 6 months ago or so. And we had Bill, that college football guy, on. It was awesome. We've already talked about having him on again for maybe another draft or some other episode. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. And we've got AF on. He played basketball, graduated from Big West, a Big West school. Hope the Mountain West survives. The Mountain West is going to survive.
Yep.
The Mountain West is going to survive. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different, but it will still be the Mountain West, and we will still be here on the Big Mountain to cover everything Mountain West and Big Ten.
David Jorgensen brings up UC Davis.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything. I haven't done any research on UC Davis. I do see a lot of people on Twitter, on X, bring them up as, why is Sacramento State getting all this love? Maybe they should be looking at UC Davis. So maybe that's something we need to look at in the future. Just do a little research on it.
It's all the same area there.
Yeah.
Like when you go from San Jose State across to UC Davis to Sacramento State, it's all there. And like I said before, with the Sacramento State piece, in a perfect world, you would rather them be further south in California. Like, you'd love to get back into that Southern California market if you're the Mountain West. But hey, you got to take who's available. You got to take who's willing to join. And it's just it's limited. Like, there's not 20 schools to pick from anybody. I mean, we're seeing with the PAC right now too. They're struggling to get what they got. I do want to talk Gonzaga real quick.
Okay, yes.
Before we...
I was going to bring that up.
Okay, so let's switch gears and go to the PAC here real quick. Oh, man, that college football guy says he lost some subscribers over that video. He said he might... When you get spicy, though, you never know what might happen. But it's fun to get spicy. You got to do it for fun.
I agree, and I love his show. I mean, he just... like I say all the time, I say this on X... watching that college football guy, it's just like talking with one of your buddies about college football, like sitting down, cracking a beer, having a conversation. Great show. So if there's any mountain dwellers, if you're not a subscriber to that college football guy, go to his channel and subscribe right now. Do it now.
And I've been so damn busy, I don't get to watch him very much, but I need to watch this one. I'm going to watch it tonight. But anyway, we want to get to Gonzaga. So yes, go Zags. They are joining the PAC. Now, we are a football pod, so, we dabbled a little bit into basketball, mainly because the Mountain West was doing so awesome last year. Probably will do it again this year. But, so we don't follow basketball, and obviously the Zags don't have a football team. But, of course, there was a lot of talk that they were, possibly going to be going to the PAC. I see a lot of, press coming out, especially from your Canzanos and your Wilners and your all of them, how great this is, and yada, yada, yada. And I look at them like, they don't have a football team, so I can't really talk about it. I know who the Bulldogs are. Everybody knows who Gonzaga is. Everybody knows they always do well in basketball season. I get that. But football is 80-90% of this sucker, and that's what we do here. So I'm just kind of like, meh, okay. What do you want to say about them?
I'll talk about them.
Please do, because I'm just like, meh.
Yeah, I like the move. I think it's real. I think it's great. I think they should. I don't know what took them so long to make that happen. I think it's great. I think Gonzaga, yes, obviously they are a basketball school and we're a college football podcast, but in the world of college sports, they are one of the biggest kind of properties out there. So I think it's great for them. And I think we did a video, I think you called it the PAC taking a pause or
regroup or something,
or whatever, which I think is smart. I think it was smart to go ahead and add. We said that in the video.
Yes.
Why do you have to wait? Just add Gonzaga now, and then they can take their pause and look, because they obviously need another full member who plays football.
Right.
And I think they have time to wait. I think to me they could even wait until January, February, see what happens with the ACC. We'll see. So I think it was a good move. I'm glad they didn't wait to do it. And I like the directions. I mean, you are obviously very emotionally connected with the Mountain West. I'm a little more independent on that. And I've said I wanted them to merge. It didn't happen. It's not going to happen. But I think the track that both of these conferences on, I think they're doing the right things. and I'm excited about both.
I got to just mention, is it Shoichi? I don't know how to say it. Shoichi84. Felt good seeing how excited UTEP folks are to join the Mountain West. Was getting tired of the BS from SDSU folks throwing shade at the rest of us for so long. And, maybe you joined us here late, but I said the same thing for the first half of your comment about it is so awesome to see a fan base, a school that is this excited to join the Mountain West. It's exactly what you want. I mean, put aside everything we talked about with how well the fit is, which it's a phenomenal fit, but the fact that they're just so excited for this, it is such a breath of fresh air and so exciting to see. I'm so happy to have them. Of course, you're going to get people throwing shade at us for, oh, it's just UTEP and oh, they're 0-4 and yada, yada, yada. Okay, whatever. We talked about, and we have an episode coming out tomorrow where we deep dive UTEP. We have a special guest on to deep dive UTEP, and I agree. I think this is going to be phenomenal. I love that UTEP is joined the Mountain West, and it's where, frankly, it's where they belong. I think so. I'm excited.
So we had a comment from AMAC says Sam Houston is a better option than Tarleton State. Why not both? That's my opinion. If the Mountain West is willing to take FCS schools, which I think they should be, why not both? There's enough money in Texas to go around. I think that go and double dip, take both of them, offer them both at the same time tomorrow. It gives them a travel partner. We in our episode, I don't want to give too much away in our episode, our UTEP episode, but our UTEP expert there talked about how they've started to have a budding rivalry with Sam Houston. So grab them both.
This is our live show. You can tell people.
Yeah, that's true.
These are our mountain dwellers.
Yeah,
they get special.
That's true.
We don't have subscribers. We have the people that join our live episode.
Yeah, that's right.
That's our subscribers.
Our dwellers.
And so I got to apologize to Raj. Raj is here, and he's questioning my comment about snarky comments. And he's loving on us. He says, no, he's being serious about the crossover. Thank you, Raj. Sorry, I don't remember you commenting before. I apologize for the snarky comment. And we appreciate you being here on the live show.
We thought Raj was just ding dong ditching us.
Yeah, that's right.
And so Antonio, he says, why not take New Mexico State? I think genetics did a good breakdown, and we've talked about the value of have New Mexico, you're taking UTEP. That there just might not be enough value, bring enough media value. We already have those two. It's just like oversaturation.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, and that came out, honestly, by genetics is the one that really brought that to me the most. When you're looking at fit, you're like, yeah, they both fit. We'll take them both. And you knew they were in the same market. Like, I knew that, but it was just like, it wasn't at the forefront. But when you look at what conference realignment is all about, it's about eyeballs and viewership and money. That's what it's all about. So if New Mexico State is not expanding upon that because they have it with UTEP, that was who they chose. They chose UTEP over New Mexico State. It's not broadening the Mountain West footprint, and they're trying to broaden the Mountain West footprint. So and that college football guy says, Las
Cruces?
Las Cruces? I don't know how to say it. And El Paso are in the same media market. You don't need to double dip. Yeah. I do think New Mexico State is on the board. I talked about Berman talking about the board. I think they're on the board, but I think they're below a lot of other schools, and I hate to say that for New Mexico State, but I think that's the reality of realignment and where the market is driving this.
Yeah.
And they are not a priority. They are, the word I want to say isn't fair to them.
Insignificant?
An afterthought. Because it's not expanding the market. Hey, we want to get to 12 schools. We only have 11. We know that, they're kind of in the bag. They're kind of like the USU and UNLV were, in my opinion, for the PAC. Yeah. They're in the bag, and that doesn't mean they're in the bag. It just doesn't. And I feel bad for the Aggies because I like everything about them, but they don't now provide what drives conference realignment.
And here's the thing. Let's be very clear. The state of New Mexico is a very different entity than the state of Texas.
Yes,
like
true.
The 7th and 8th media markets in Texas bring you more than the number 1 media market in New Mexico. So or the number 2.
Right.
So that's just, there's more cactuses and tumbleweeds in New Mexico than there are people. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, good point. Well, we are going to wrap this one up. I'm getting the heart out because our buddy Raj, he wants us to do dual videos, knowing that we have jobs and wives and kids and all that kind of stuff. And the president of the Big Mountain Productions has told us we're on a time limit.
Well, last thing I'll say, AMAC, he mentioned Sam Houston is already FBS. Yes, we talked about that earlier, how they just recently moved up to FBS, I believe, the last few years. My comment was, if you're going to go FCS, I like Tarleton State, and you can pair those two together and get a nice little chunk of Texas.
And last thing I'm just going to say, because I didn't talk Northern Illinois. I didn't write them down, so I didn't talk them. I love the addition of a football-only school for Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
I know that's going to upset MAC fans, but I love everything about that. It's football only. It's in the Chicago market in Northern Illinois. It's in the central time zone. It can pair with, whether it's Tarleton State, I know it's north and south, they aren't, but they're in the same time zone, or a North Dakota State. That's why I put that out there. I meant to talk about Northern Illinois. I still really like that as a football-only edition. I'm not saying they're going to get it, but I get why they did it.
Yeah, I agree with you, and here's the thing. In 4 or 5 years, all these conferences might be football only.
True.
We don't know how the settlement is going to affect Olympic sports and all these other sports. They might all be or football and basketball only, or just football only, and the other sports just play regional.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. So I didn't mean to leave off Northern Illinois. I didn't have them written down. So, hey, with that, we're going to head out here tonight. Thank you for coming on. I know we got up into the 80s or 90s or something. Always great to have some commenters here. We love communicating with you guys. You always bring great stuff up. And hopefully we're making money with our picks again. We will certainly do our best to go 6-0 on our locks. I know I love some of your locks, and I know I like my locks. That's why I did them. So, hey, with that, make sure you like this episode, and you're all subscribed. But if you're not, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.